good old Mayor Pete Buttigieg, the fake Christian, the presidential candidate who will never be president, has some interesting things to say about Joker, about Todd Phillips, about Dave Chappelle, and we're going to be getting to all of that in this article because he continues to pander to the woke crowd, to the SJWs, because, let's be honest, that's kind of what more and more of their base is starting to become here. So let's go ahead and get into what he has to say about these cultural issues that we are dealing with. So during his interview with Good Luck America with Peter Hamby, the South Bend mayor also spoke about how consumers get to debate with themselves about whether or not they will turn off comedy that feels harmful or hateful. Because, you know, if you any sort of comedy could harm you, right? Like this happens to me all the time. I once saw something that was poking fun at Christians, and it ruined my life. It was so harmful to me. It ruined my life. I will never recover from that. I will never. I'm just so traumatized because someone made a joke about Christians. That is basically what these people are acting like. They're acting like someone's comedy is actually doing harm towards them, which is just so ridiculous. It is so ridiculous. If you don't like it, turn it off. I know. Amazing. Or go find a comedian that you do like and leave the rest of us to these comedians that we do like, right? So South Bend mayor and 2020 presidential candidate Pete Buttigieg commented on the recent controversy surrounding comedy, political correctness, and fictionalized violence during an interview with Good Luck America with Pete Hamby that aired on Snapchat. First, Buttigieg was asked for his thoughts on how director Todd Phillips, who made a name for himself with The Hangover, said he's moving away from making comedies because everyone gets triggered and offended in a culture that often feels too politically correct. And he's 100% true. He's 100% true. And I don't need to point to the evidence to show that. I don't know why these people are acting like this isn't the case. This is the case. People are getting triggered and offended by everything. Even Dave Chappelle, that was one of his points that he was trying to make with this comedy special, right? He was like saying that the alphabet community, the alphabet crowd, they get overly offended most of the time, especially when you poke jokes at them. And guess what? He poked jokes at them and they got overly offended by his comedy special. They literally played right into his hand. So congratulations, you played yourself. You totally just made an example out of yourself by reacting that way to his comedy special. Good job. You guys are geniuses. And that is, I mean, like I said, I don't need to show you examples to show that this is indeed true. This is the culture, the politically correct culture that we live in, and he's going to be talking about this in the exact same way, basically saying that it needs to be more politically correct. Comedy does. The mayor replied, two things are true. One is that part of how comedy works is it challenges our conventions. It challenges our sensitivities, and that's a part of what it can contribute. Okay? So then what's the big deal? Another thing that's also true is hurtful things and hateful things often come at us in the form of humor, and we just have to learn how to handle both of those things, aka stop saying things that we don't like, right? That's exactly what he's saying here. He doesn't think that hurtful, hateful things should be in comedy. Well, guess what? There's always going to be something that someone says in comedy that is going to offend someone, and they're going to take it as hurtful or hateful. Or, as a normal human being like me, you might just be like, okay, whatever, Like, that's the thing, is that I don't get easily offended. Like, I just let most things just roll off me, and I don't care. Like, I don't get easily offended. But let's say that Dave Chappelle said something in his comedy special that offended me, okay? Do you know how I would handle that as a normal person? I wouldn't whine about it, go to social media, be like, Dave Chappelle said this. No, I would just be like, okay, well, whatever, I just let it roll off of me. I would just be like, okay. And then if I want to take a step further, I could be like, okay, well, this comedy isn't really for me, so I'm going to go find other comedians that are more appropriate for me. That is the beauty of living in a country where we have numerous options. If there's one thing that you don't like that doesn't work for you, there's probably another version of that out there that does work for you. You know, if you enjoy lame comedy that doesn't offend anybody, which is just boring comedy in my opinion, then go ahead, go find that comedy and you enjoy that. You do you, but leave the rest of us to enjoy the comedy that we like, okay? So this is just nonsense. Like, you can't. And it gets even worse, okay? Buttigieg then focused on the choice that consumers have when they try out controversial content. When a piece of art that is out there to challenge conventions does something that's really harmful, then I think it's time to turn it off. But we get to have those debates. So basically, Pete Buttigieg is condoning cancel culture right here. So good job on that, Pete. There you go. We have a presidential candidate who is part of cancel culture. Nice. This is exactly the type of people that I want as president. Cancel culture presidents. Can you imagine? So basically, you know, when a piece of art that is out there that challenges conventions does something that's really harmful, then I think it's time to turn it off. This is just like book burning 101 right here, okay? Like, yeah, there's something that you don't like. Okay, it needs to be canceled. We need to cut it. No. That isn't the case because there's so much art out there that could offend anybody. So who are you going to determine how are you going to determine that, right? Like, let's say that one person finds something offensive, the other 99 people don't find it offensive. Are you going to get rid of that thing and turn it off just because one person found it offensive? Really? Like, you can't live this way. Okay, you just can't. You can't operate in a society this way. Pressed about the violence in Phillips' latest film Joker, which has received strong reactions from those worried about the real-world acts of terror it may encourage, Buttigieg said, I think it's a cop-out to blame pop culture for violence. What I will say is that the culture we produce reflects us. And if you see a dark dystopian film doing well, it might be because the American people are feeling unsettled and bothered and maybe dark in a time like this. Or it could just be that it's a well-written movie with great character development and that's what people crave. Joker is performing better than people expected. Do you know what else performed better this year that people didn't expect? Alita Battle Angel. Yes, it still didn't do like amazing numbers, but it did way better than people were predicting it was going to. And that is because it has a great female lead character and it has a good plot. It has a good story. That's what people want. People want that, and people will rally around to support that. That is why Alita did better than people expected. That's why Joker is doing so well. People are tired of politically correct nonsense. People are tired of it. And it's showing more and more. When you have things like Star Wars, which is the greatest, biggest IP of all time, taking a hit and failing at this time. But you see, on the other hand, movies like Joker and Alita, movies that people didn't expect to do well, to be rising up. You know, there's a balance there. Like Star Wars is suffering right now because they're continuing to pander to the SJWs and to the woke crowd. That is exactly why Star Wars is sinking, while on the other hand, films like Joker and Alita Battle Angel and John Wick Chapter 3, another movie that did better than people were expecting, are continuing to rise up. Those are the types of movies that people want, and it's the same with comedy. I could go to Rotten Tomatoes right now and I could show you the disconnect between the critics and the fans when it comes to things like Dave Chappelle's comedy special, and then on the other hand I could show you other comedy specials where the critics absolutely loved it, gave it like a 99%, and it's down to like what, 20% or in the teens for the audience. There's a disconnect there, and people don't understand this. And if you want to, you know, take the Lucasfilm route and just label us all as man babies who are sexist and misogynists and whatever else, racists, then go ahead, I guess. Just go ahead. But we're going to continue to listen to people like you less and less. Like, I already don't care about what most of these people say anymore because it's all just pandering nonsense anyway. Hamby also raised the issues of how there's a subgenre of comedy with comedians such as Dave Chappelle and Bill Burr, who are, he says, deliberately trying to be provocative in the culture of political correctness. He referenced the way Chappelle deliberately made fun of transgender people and asked Buttigieg if that sort of comedy should simply be turned off or if the comedian's Netflix deal should be pulled. And this is exactly what I'm talking about. Dave Chappelle made jokes about transgender people and the alphabet people because he was trying to make a point that these people will get overly offended and then they will try to cancel that thing. And that's exactly what these people are playing into. Do you guys not realize that that Chappelle is a master and you're playing his game? And he has control in this game. He completely is the master here. And you guys are just pawns to him. And you're playing right into his hand. So good job. Good job. So let's see what Pete Buttigieg has to say about this. If he thinks that the cancel culture should be a thing. I haven't seen the special, but I will say that there comes a point where you're just straight up hurting people. I don't know what goal you're hoping to achieve. As much as there's been a lot of political correctness, there's also this weird way in which it's become fashionable to attack political correctness. And I think it has become its own weird correctness out there. So of course he wants it canceled. Of course he wants things like this canceled. Political correctness is nonsense. Okay? All it is just censoring and gatekeeping people's expression. We're seeing this more and more everywhere. Everywhere. Big corporations, giant websites are censoring people's expression more and more. Even here on YouTube, this is happening more and more. Now they want to take it to comedians. Comedians are one of the last bastions of free expression, but even that is becoming canceled more and more, which is why there's a lot of comedians that are waking up to that and being like, hey, I don't like the fact that these people are trying to cancel me just because of my jokes. So, more comedians are waking up to that. They are. And there's research to prove that. So, hey, if you want to continue to try to cancel people and play this politically correct nonsense game, then go ahead. But there's a lot of normal thinking human beings that can just see when things are just jokes, right? Like we can see that this is just jokes that Dave Chappelle is making, which is why we laugh at it. And these people drive me nuts. These people drive me absolutely insane. He went on to say, at the end of the day, I may be at risk of sounding simplistic. I'm just coming at this from a perspective of helping and hurting. It's what we are doing every day. Whether you're a politician or comedian or an artist or a business person or whatever, are you doing more good than harm out there? And if you're not, it's time for some reflection and time for some adjustments. He totally wants to just play into the cancel culture. It's so obvious. It's so obvious. But guess what? With Dave Chappelle's comedy special at a 90 some % on Rotten Tomatoes, I would say that his comedy special did a lot more help than it did hurt, right? More people enjoy the comedy special, were able to laugh at it, escape real life, and just laugh at things that people are dealing with in their day-to-day life, as comedy should be. It has a 90% on Rotten Tomatoes. It did much more help than it did harm. So, I don't know what kind of a point you're trying to make here, Pete Buttigieg, because not everyone is an SJW lunatic like you and your followers are. So, anyway, enjoy the thing that you want to enjoy. If you don't like Dave Chappelle, don't watch him. Super easy. If there's a restaurant that I don't like, I'm not going to continue to eat at that restaurant. I'm going to go find another restaurant that I do like. Same thing applies here. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments below what you think. What a fruitcake. What an absolute fruitcake. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.
With my heart's desire.